appears to be fractures, possibly around her eye as well. Her whole head has basically been squashed.
It's quite a nasty fracture. Their bones are really quite displaced.
And he's actually been run over by his mother. And poor little guy's got a back leg which is snapped in half, and he's also got a tear in his lung which is leaking.
That is a serious break.
2 fragments of bone are just sitting at right angles to each other where they should be straight. So
on this week's Best of Bondi Vet.
I think she's got some head fractures, so we'll just get her out and make sure she's breathing okay.
At the Bondi Referral Hospital SASH, 5-year-old Betty has arrived with shocking head injuries after being run over.
Goodness me, that's definitely a broken jaw. It's just crunching under my fingers. This just looks absolutely horrendous. I mean, this little cat's skull has been crushed by a car. I think she's got broken jaw. I think there appears to be fractures, possibly around her eye as well. Her whole head has basically been squashed.
Owners Linda and Max are heartbroken.
We couldn't have children. She's the daughter I never had.
Brain injury and vision loss are the major concerns.
So we have to really look at those injuries that she's got to her skull, and also have a look at if she's got any injuries in her chest, because if her head's gone right under the car, you know, it's possible that her chest has been squashed as well.
Betty urgently needs full head and body scans.
She's our baby, so go ahead.
Okay.
Whatever it takes.
All right, Bubby, let's see if we can do this scan.
5-year-old hit-run victim Betty is about to undergo a CT scan to reveal the extent of her horrific facial injuries.
If you think of the size of a cat's head and the size of a car, and the car going over the cat's head, squashing her face, her brain has got to have had a bump in there as well. So whether it's just a mild concussion or some more serious brain injury, only time's going to tell. There's the jaw fracture. Just there, you can see her lower jaw has basically been split in 2. The 2 sides of her jaw are basically working independently of each other and just hanging there in space. It's got to hurt.
Hey, sweetie.
Incredibly, Betty's chest and other internal organs have not been damaged, but the much-loved pet is just hanging on.
Hello, princess.
Linda's bond with Betty is really special because Linda's actually had health issues herself, and Betty's the one who sat on the bed with her and helped her through her problems.
Betty looks after wife, if wife's a bit crook sort of thing. They seem to understand each other. If Betty's a little bit off colour, Betty goes wife and vice versa.
This is a tough situation for everyone. Betty is a mess. She's got a fractured jaw, she's in shock, and we can't give her an anaesthetic now because if we do, we could kill her. This is just one of those horrible catch-22s.
Fingers and toes. Please cross your fingers and toes too. And now we've just got to wait and hope.
I don't know how long we can leave.
Yeah, I know. It's getting to a point where we've got to, if she's stable enough, take a calculated risk so we can get this side of it done.
Surgery on Betty's shattered jaw has been scheduled today with specialist Andrew Marchevsky, but in the past 24 hours, Betty's condition has suddenly deteriorated.
You know, she became so anemic so quickly. I think if we'd have operated when she first came in, you know, she'd have died on the table. Yeah. No, darling, we need to get you sorted, don't we? The trauma case is always a balancing act. There's never a perfect time to do a surgery. You've just got to be a time that's the best given the situation.
Oh, good kitty.
That is your plan. You need to work towards
I have to make it look like that again.
Now that you're a qualified cosmetic surgeon
Right.
for cats.
Yeah, I'll make it look better than that. So we're just going to, first of all, stabilise her jaw so it's nice and solid. Get her occlusion, so her alignment of her teeth right. And then once we've done that, we can then suture all the skin back onto her mouth. So it's a bit nasty. You can make a jaw heal any way you like, but it's very unforgiving. It's got to be pretty perfect. So you can see that tooth there is fitting in nicely just in that right spot there. Yeah, I do a pretty good job. She still probably has some potential brain injury there. So hopefully now we've got a facial trauma controlled as much as possible with this surgery. We'll be able to really see what a brain's doing.
Betty! Betty, Betty! Are you
Brave
talking?
Betty has made it through the surgery
so beautiful.
to reconstruct her shattered jaw.
And come out?
The tough cat headbutted a car and lived to tell the story of her incredible escape.
Oh my goodness. Practically jumping out. Hey? Her jaw's healed nicely, she can see, and most importantly, she doesn't appear to have any brain damage, which is just fantastic.
Hey.
Oh, my darling girl. Look, you've even got
For Linda and Max, the ordeal is finally over.
Oh, trying to get away. Yeah, she's back to normal.
Yes.
There's been a bit of a brain transplant because she's actually quite nice now rather than aloof, so that might change. She might go back to normal.
She just won't be allowed outside. Are we listening, Max?
Right, yeah. Yeah, no, that's right, yeah.
I put some local in, mate, I'm sorry.
Bruno, a 7-month-old Boston Terrier, has just arrived at Bondi's Referral Hospital Sash in a critical condition.
And he's actually been run over by his mother. And poor little guy's got a back leg which is snapped in half, and he's also got a tear in his lung which is leaking. So the back leg is the least of his worries. We really need to just get that air out of his chest because that's what's going to kill him.
Before a chest drain is inserted, Bruno's owner Jackie is allowed into the emergency room for a quick visit.
Hey, little man. Yes, your mum.
It's all right, Mum. It's all right. I was driving up the driveway, and when Bruno saw the car, he raced over and I didn't see him at all. Well, I went into panic mode to start with because we didn't think he was going to make it, and just broke down, basically. Yeah. He's a gorgeous dog. He's got a really sweet little nature.
You know, it happens a lot. It's awful because the owners feel so guilty, and I really feel for them. It's terrible.
Andrew must now plunge a trocar into Bruno.
Have you?
The air that's trapped between Bruno's lung and chest wall has to be sucked out urgently before the puppy's system crashes.
Come on. Come on.
At Sash, Andrew's attempting to put a chest drain into car accident victim Bruno.
You've got to get it in the right place because if you're wrong, you can hit the lung, you can hit the heart, and that would just be disastrous. You're actually making a hole in the chest wall.
Okay.
So it's a real race to seal that off and suck the air back out before the animal crashes.
Oh, it's dropping again.
Bruno's blood oxygen levels suddenly start dropping. If they plummet too far, the puppy could go into cardiac arrest.
Come on, buddy. Ideally, his blood oxygen level should be above 95%, and now it's dropping to below 85. We just need to stabilise him quickly.
How can you go from 96 to 85 in 2 seconds?
But only a few minutes later, the tension starts to ease as Bruno's blood oxygen levels begin to climb.
94.
That's a good number.
Bruno's now being hooked up to a pump that will keep sucking the air out of his chest overnight.
There you go, little man. Says, what's going on?
He's 8 kilograms. He's taken on a car that weighs practically a tonne. I mean, he's alive, but he's not out of the woods yet.
Bruno, who was run over by his owner, has managed to survive a life-threatening torn lung. X-rays have confirmed it's completely healed. Now the emergency team can start operating on his badly fractured back leg.
Bruno's battle's not over yet. Going into surgery is going to be the biggest test on his lungs. When he's under anaesthetic, that could re-rupture the torn lung, and then we could go straight back to square one.
A specially contoured plate is moulded to the bone and attached with a series of screws to stabilise the leg.
God almighty.
It's a difficult operation to get the leg aligned perfectly, but after several attempts, Andrew is finally happy.
That's come together really nicely. It's worth the struggle. His future's looking pretty good, yeah. I think Jackie will be very happy with him in a couple of weeks' time, and he'll be running around the place again. I'm exhausted, Mum. I need to sleep.
Good boy. Hey, that's for the kiss. Thank you. Yes, that's a good boy.
Lucky survivor Bruno is ready to go home. It's all clear for his lungs, and his leg should be fully healed in 8 weeks.
Hopefully he'll have learnt his lesson. He'll steer clear of cars from now on, but they do tend to forget.
Yes, he is. Oh, it's exciting, isn't it?
He's shaking like a leaf.
He
Come on,
is.
mate.
Well, he knows you were behind the wheel of the car that got him.
Did you just say that? Hello, gorgeous boy.
He's got to learn to run a bit faster. Yeah, you've got to learn to drive a bit slower. He's such a cute boy.
Oh, it's really good. So pleased to have him coming back home. Yeah, it's a relief. I can stop worrying about him now. Little tough nut.
Their 11-year-old daughter Rose has fallen on their puppy and appears to have broken his leg.
She was very upset, really teary, and just basically devastated. And she kept on saying to me, "It's an accident. It's an accident."
Oh, little man. Oh. Without even putting much pressure on that, I can feel some crunching there. So he's got a big fracture. I think that's broken in half. Adorable. Like a little lamb.
He's so tiny.
Emergency vet Lisa Chimes will now take x-rays, but she's almost certain they'll confirm Pip has suffered a shocking fracture.
He's in a good place, sweetie. Do not worry.
Consumed with guilt, Judy's daughter Rose is calling to
He's
find
fine.
out just how
When you
badly
get home,
she's
I'll
hurt her
talk to you
puppy.
about it, and I'll let you know exactly what they're going to be doing to him. You just say a prayer for Pip. He'll be fine.
Wow. That is a serious break.
Unfortunately, the x-ray results are going to make Rose feel even worse.
The two fragments of bone are just sitting at right angles to each other where they should be straight. So the only way that's going to get better is with surgery. Pip is a 13-week-old puppy. He's full of life normally, and this life has been snapped out of him with this break. It's just awful. Here's the little boy. Look after him.
I will.
Oh, he's so tiny.
At SASH, it's now time for surgery to try to save 13-week-old Pip's shattered leg.
And he's asleep.
The toy poodle's femur was snapped in half after his 11-year-old owner Rose accidentally fell on him.
Pip's got quite a nasty fracture of his thigh bone, and it's just cracked straight in two. So we're going to put a plate and some screws in there to get it together and get it stable.
Surgery on the tiny puppy will need to be precise and quick.
With a little bloke like this, we don't want them on the table for too long, because even with all the heating that we provide, they can get really cold, and we can have all sorts of anaesthetic complications if they do that. So we've just got to be in and out. Pip's bones are just so small. They'd be 6 millimetres wide, and I'm trying to get a 2 millimetre screw into the bone. So there's not a lot of room for error. Because Pip's only 13 weeks old, he's still growing, and as a result I'm going to have to compromise a little bit on how many screws I can put in the bone, because if I put too many in, I'll go across one of his growth plates and that'll stunt his growth.
How about that? You're going to go home soon.
This is one day after surgery and he's walking. The leg is fixed.
Pip has made an amazing recovery after his leg was snapped in half. After just 24 hours, the toy poodle can now go home with his family.
Your family's excited to see you. Yes, they are.
It was 11-year-old Rose who fell on her puppy.
I love you.
After blaming herself, seeing Pip again is a huge relief.
We've got to be very gentle when you hold him.
Poor Rose missed Pip so much, and when I brought him into the room, the look on her face, just priceless. And I know she is just going to look after him from now on.
New patient Sandy is complaining loudly in reception.
We've just found him after a couple of weeks of being missing, and looks like he's been hit by a car, and he was trapped under the neighbour's house.
Come on, sweetheart, I'll get you out.
Incredibly, the 3-year-old Siamese survived a badly broken leg and no food for 2 weeks.
Ooh, it's quite a nasty fracture. Their bones are really quite displaced, and I guess the really hard thing about it is the fact that it's 2 weeks down the track, and they're going to try and stay there now. Yeah.
Turns out this is not the first time the Siamese adventurer has gone missing.
He got into our cleaner's ute and went for a week's holiday in the back of the ute, so that was fun.
There's going to be a lot of fibrous tissue around that and scar tissue, and it's going to make it very difficult to loosen things up and get the bone back in the right position.
I'd rather prefer him breaking his leg than being dead.
Hit-run victim Sandy is about to undergo major reconstructive surgery for his shattered back leg.
The struggle with this case is going to be getting the fracture reduced, so back into the right position, because it's been sitting there for 2 weeks. I'm just incising over the fracture site now. You can see how unstable this still is.
The fracture is so serious that external scaffolding will be needed. Andrew will drill pins through the bone and skin and connect them to bars outside.
You've got to make sure that it's in the centre of the bone. If it's slightly off-centre, there's a possibility it'll crack out the other side. It's a critical part of the operation. Can we have that pin cutter, please? No, I'm pleased with that.
The results look good, but Sandy, the intrepid adventurer, will have to put up with the scaffolding for at least 8 weeks.
He won't be able to jump onto the sofa, certainly won't be able to climb trees, climb up curtains, and he'll be housebound, and I'm sure he'll hate that. But it's a case of cruel to be kind.
No, ain't naughty.
All right.
Go it.
Outside, Sandy's extended family have just arrived for a visit, including twins Thomas and James.
The friend?
Who for?
Who's Sandy?
How you going?
We got Sandy.
Yeah, we got Sandy here.
You gonna give Sandy a kiss? Did you want to show him your pictures?
It's been one of the hardest 2.5 weeks. Yeah, you just have this cloud hanging over your whole life because, you know, someone's missing, a member of the family.
Where's he gone?
He's gone under the table now.
There you go. He hasn't lost that adventure. It's just some spirit, has he?
No, you weren't able to fix that?
No. Normal walking is actually good for the fracture. It'll stimulate it to heal. But putting too much pressure on it, like if you suddenly charges off after something, puts a lot of pressure through the pins, and they can potentially break through the bone.
He's certainly had a few lives. He's obviously meant for this earth.
You're not getting out.
At home, hit-run victim Sandy is being nursed back to health, but the Siamese is sick of his prison. With help from friends and family, an outside cat run is now ready to go.
Today's the first day that we're going to introduce it to Sandy, so it'll be an interesting thing to watch.
Oh, he's loving the fresh air. Look at that. Look at the nose going. And look at all this, see? It stops you getting out on the road, and then you can pretend you're in the jungle. You've got to look after them and take responsibility and, you know, and give them love and affection because ultimately they need you. You're not trying to get an escape plan happening, are you there?
This is George.
On the Gold Coast, 7-week-old kitten George has been rushed into Gerardo after his alarmed owners heard him screaming out in pain.
George?
Come on, little guy.
Oh,
I
oh
know.
look at that little meow meow.
Hey.
Hey, mate. Oh, wow.
You're a baby.
George is tiny.
Hey, He's so cute. Look at those eyes.
Shannon and Michael are desperately worried about their precious new little boy.
George was playing with the dog. About 5 seconds outside, he just started screaming. He couldn't put any weight on his leg, so I was just sort of hoping it was a bit of a sprain, but was sort of prepared for it to be a little bit worse.
These little toesies.
Oh, ouch.
Okay, feeling up the leg here.
Good boy. Oh, he says ouch. Oh, ouch.
Oh, doesn't like that bit there. When I feel around George's back end, he's very painful on his back left leg, possibly around his ankle, maybe around his knee. It's a bit hard to determine. So what I'm going to do is get him some pain relief and take in some x-rays.
Good boy.
X-raying such a tiny animal is always risky, but it's the only way Gerardo can determine if the little kitten has simply sprained his leg or if the injury is something far more serious.
Hey George, it's time for your x-ray, mate. You ready, mate? You're going to be brave.
What's going on?
Gerardo is concerned about the possibility of risky surgery on such a tiny kitten.
I know.
I hope he doesn't have little brokey legs. The last thing you need is a broken leg, George.
I think he agrees. I know, it's not fun, is it?
Wriggly George will need a sedative for the x-ray.
Just a little bit.
But controlling the dosage is critical. Too little and the kitten won't stay still enough, but too much could prove fatal.
You're cheeky.
Let me go, I don't like being held. Because he's so small, you have to give tiny bits at a time, otherwise the risk here is we give him too much, okay? We don't want to do that. Okay.
You right?
Let's have a little look now.
Little heart's pounding. I might get him some of that oxygen. Put that little...
Okay, got oxygen on him. There we go, George. Good boy.
Put your little head up here.
A little mask for him. Okay, here we go.
Oxygen.
X-ray. Fire. Look at this.
Oh, look. No wonder it's sore. Poor little fella. I wonder he wasn't happy about you touching that.
No, and I wonder why he doesn't want to use it.
Yeah.
George, you're allowed to be in pain, mate. That is pretty much straight down through the bone. Normally it's only one side.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a spiral fracture. And the only thing that's keeping that together is his little fibula, a little bone on the side, which is acting like a splint, like his own splint. That'll need some stabilisation. Patrice, can we set up for bandage, please?
Kittens grow rapidly, so George can't be fitted for a cast.
Now we're going to apply a bandage to George's leg, and that's going to keep that bone in alignment and help it heal faster. And also keep him from putting weight on it, because sometimes they heal very quick and it could re-break. And we definitely don't want that to happen. Kittens are notoriously hard to bandage. We've got to get at least up to that high. Good idea in splitting it down the middle, hey? His leg's so small. If we can keep this bone still for a couple of weeks, there's a fair chance that his fracture might heal pretty quick, like in a fortnight or so. Surely that has to be enough. He is not gonna like this bandage when he wakes up. How about you take him back and recover him, and then I'll come through with a cone, hey?
George will now spend the next few hours being carefully monitored until the anaesthetic wears off.
Okay, here we go. Now I know. Your leg feels better in that bandage.
4 hours later, 7-week-old kitten George has fully recovered from his anaesthetic, and his broken leg is securely bandaged. Now it's time for him to be reunited with his worried owners.
It's time to go home. Hey team, here we have George. Are you gonna come out and say hello? Come out. Come on. Hello, George. It does look like a big bandage, but he's able to get around with it, so.
Oh, that's good. Missed that squeaking all afternoon.
I could hear him coming.
He's fine to go home and have food and things, and just got to keep him quiet for the next couple of weeks. If up to 3 weeks, 4 weeks, should be all healed. Okay, thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
If you guys loved that video, great. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel below. That way.